Hi everyone, welcome back to Winging It and Merry Christmas. My name's Rebecca and it's week 52 in our Winging It project, which means that this is the last panel which should complete the last page in your book. We're keeping it really simple today. I've come up with a project that's going to be a great one for stitching while you're watching a Christmas movie, and it doesn't rely on precision, so even if you've had a little bit too much sherry trifle, you should still be able to get a great result. Do stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be talking about what we're going to be doing next week, and I've got some news about next year's projects. We're just going to stick with embroidery this week, so I've put a list of everything you're going to need in the description below. Do check that out, gather all your bits and pieces, and let's get stitching. I really wanted to do something celebratory for our final panel, and when I think of sparkle I think of parties, and my first design idea was to create something like a party backdrop, and I thought we could do some lines of our string stitches running vertically and almost do it like a stitch sampler and maybe dot some beads and sequins around, almost like a backdrop for a party or a wedding. I did think it was quite simple though, and I thought we could do something a little bit more exciting than this. So I also thought of wreaths, and it's that sort of time of year, and I wondered whether we could do a sparkly wreath made out of lines of string stitches worked in circles that overlap, looking quite sketchy, and maybe dot some sparkly beads and sequins all around, and we could maybe put 2022 in the centre just to mark the year. And I really liked this idea, and I quite like the fact that it didn't really need lots of precision because the overlapping layers of stitch will sort of cover up any imperfections. So this is the idea I decided we should go with. Thought it would be quite a lot of fun. So I'm going to be working on black. You can see I've sketched out my design there, and I wanted to use black for this because I think the metallic threads really pop against these dark backgrounds, and I thought this one would look really spectacular with lots of different colours. I've sketched lots of circles, and all I've done there is taken different size circles and done them slightly off centre and overlapping. So these are just going to be a guide. There's going to be so many layers of stitch that it won't really matter whether your circles are circles or not. My inspiration for this one came from this thread actually, which is another one that I picked up. If I bring it up close to the camera, you can see it's got loads and loads of different colours in there. So it looks like disco thread. I think it's fabulous. And I thought this one would be loads and loads of fun. It's another Light Effects thread. It's E130 and it's DMC just like before, with that texture in it and lots of different colours. So that's the one that I'm going to be using mainly. You can see it against the black there. It just looks really fun. It's the most sparkly thread I think I own. So I've also got some of this thread. This is a different one. It's a Madeira thread, and it's a cross between the moulin that we used last week and a metallic thread. It's not divisible. I've also got some metallic purple Light Effects and metallic red Light Effects. They're both DMC. And then I've got my silver and gold anchor threads, and I've got some of the other Light Effects threads that we've been using as we've gone through this month's panel. I've also got a bunch of sequins there that will come in useful later on. So again, we're going to take a length of thread. We're going to find the end near the number. Now there is a very obvious end at the top of the skein, but we don't want that one. We want this one at the bottom, and it's coming from inside the skein. That's how you know it's the right one. It's coming from the centre of the skein. That's how we're going to avoid tangles. So I'm just going to pull out a length of that, and I've got my beeswax handy because it's essential when we're using metallic threads. I'm going to take 2 strands, tie a knot in the end. I don't recommend using quilter's knots with metallic threads because it puts too much wear on the thread, and I'm just going to pull that through my beeswax just like I've done before, just to get a little bit more control over my threads. The beeswax sort of sticks them together and makes them behave more. So I'm going to start off by doing a line of double knot stitch, which is in our December stitch guide. It's one of the ones that I think works best with metallic threads. Not all of our stitches do. I do come up to the centre of the screen. So I've just made a stitch along my line there, and I'm wrapping through. If you're not sure about any of the stitches for December, I will link a card at the top of the screen. Now I'm just tracing the circle round with my needle. I've put so many circles on that it's hard for me to see which circle's which. As it turns out, it really doesn't matter, because you'll see when I've got more layers of stitch on, they all overlap and you can't follow the circles anyway. I think in hindsight I might have done one circle at a time, so drawn a circle, stitched it, then drawn another circle, stitched that, but you can do it whatever way you like. You could just eyeball it, you don't have to draw any circles at all. I'm spacing these stitches out quite a lot. I don't want my knots too close together because I want space in between to put sequins and things like that, but I don't want them so far apart that my circles look like octagons or whatever, so I don't want them to look angular. So it's just balancing how much space you leave between your knots. I'm leaving about 1 centimetre. So I'm just going to stitch all the way around that, and when I get back to the beginning, just putting in my last knot there, and then I'm going to put a straight stitch to where I started, and you can see that's very far from being a circle. It really doesn't matter. So really, if you've had a few gin and tonics, you'll be fine doing this one. So that's my first one. You might notice that when you're using beeswax, it makes everything look quite cloudy and dusty. Don't panic though, because all you have to do is touch it with an iron and the wax melts into the felt and it brings a lot more clarity to your stitching. So I'm having to go with this Madeira thread. I am using beeswax. This is an interesting thread. I think I got it free with a magazine about 15 years ago, and I don't use a lot of pink. It's not divisible. It's really glittery and it's got a kind of twist in it that gives it loads of texture. It is quite chunky because you can't separate out different strands, so you've got to really know that you want to use it, because it's going to be quite a bold addition. It's like using all 6 strands of a thread, and it's a cross between that moulin that we used last week, the glitter soft thread, and a metallic thread, so it behaves much better. So this is another one that you might want to try if you're struggling with metallic threads. There are lots of options, halfway houses that get you started, and this is a good one. So I'm doing coral stitch here. Because the thread was so chunky, I wanted smaller knots. And you can see here I've put in loads and loads of layers. I might add a few more layers, lots of different colours, and they're all overlapping each other. I didn't want to show you me just stitching circles because it's just lines of stitch that we've done already. I'm going to put in the lettering because I just wanted to show you how I was going to do that. I'm just trying to work out the best option here. I think that disco thread is going to disappear a little bit onto the black because there's quite a lot of dark shades in there as well. So I think I'm going to use my warm silver that we've used a few times. Really like this one. I've just got a single strand. Now you could use one of our string stitches for the lettering. I know lots of people like Palestrina stitch for lettering, and there's lots of fans of chain stitch for lettering, but these letters are quite small and I'm using metallic thread, and so I don't want to make my life really hard, so I'm going to stick with whipped back stitch. Now we learnt this all the way back in February when we were doing lace stitches, and I'll link that video in a card at the top of the screen. I'm just doing my back stitch first of all. I've put 3 back stitches along that line, and then I've come up at the end of that top line of the T, and I'm just going to take my needle underneath the stitches, so I'm not passing through the fabric, I'm just whipping through the stitches, going always in the same direction as I whip through, so I'm always going bottom to top. Then I can take my thread through to the back again, and I've got a more distinct line than if it was just back stitch. So that's the top of the T, and I'm just going to do the vertical part of the T now in exactly the same way, and that's how I'm going to do all the lettering on this panel. So there's me whipping from left to right, and I'm just going to carry on stitching all of those letters in. So that's how it looks. It's a bit wobbly, that one, but it's fine. Now I've put in all the lettering and I was really pleased with the way that looked. So now I've got a few sequins. I seem to have just a single moon sequin. Out of all of the sequins I own, there is one of these. I've no idea where it came from, but I thought I had to use it. It just was lovely, so I thought that was fun. So I've got a single strand of metallic thread again, and I think I'm using the disco thread for this one, and I'm just putting a couple of stitches top and bottom to hold that moon in place. And then I'm going to put on some little star sequins scattered around. So I've got a bright pink one, I think, a couple of silvers. So putting the pink one on, keep the fans of pink happy, because there's not been a lot of pink. And you'll notice there that I'm tying off after each sequin because I don't want so much trailing thread across the back. So now I've got some beads. These are some really shimmery, iridescent, faceted beads that are sort of oily. They're metallic in a way that creates lots of colour. And I thought these would look perfect. They match the disco thread really well. I don't know why I've started just calling it disco thread. That's what it says to me. So, and it is Christmas Day, so let's go for it. I've also got some really shiny silver beads there. So I'm just scattering those around, and this is our finished piece. It's a really quick video today. So we've got our lines of string stitches going round and round in circles in lots of different metallic shades. I've got some glitter ball beads on there, that's what they remind me of, like disco balls, and some sequins, loads of sparkle. So that's our finished piece. You can see actually now I've tapped it with an iron, it's much crisper, the colours are much stronger, and I just think this is a great way to finish with a bang for our final panel of our book. So there we have it, that's all 4 metallic panels for our December page. We can put that together now, and just noticed I've got a loose bead there, so I'm just pulling it through. I will anchor that later. Really straightforward, simple one this week, but I hope you agree it's really effective, and I think it really makes the most of our metallic threads. Can't wait to see what you create with the prompt sparkle. You can totally go to town with this one and get as blingy as you like, because that's what this one is all about. Do share your pieces at #FSHWingingIt, and so that we can see all of these ones together, you could also add #FSHWingingIt52. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you have enjoyed it, do give us a like and hang around, because I'm going to be back in a moment to just give you a little bit of a heads up about what is going to be happening next week. So thanks for watching, and I will see you just in a moment. In the meantime, I'm going to say bye with my hands. Bye. I just wanted to finish off by saying thank you to you all for every like, for every subscription, for every share, for all your comments, all your really supportive messages, all of your posts on Instagram where you've tagged me in. It's been an absolute privilege to put these videos together this year and watch our community grow. When I started back in January, I was filming on a mobile phone and just literally winging it each week. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just wanted to put some resources out there to help people find their way into embroidery, which I know for many people is quite an intimidating and daunting hobby to make a start with. Hopefully you've discovered that actually it's a lot easier than you perhaps first thought. It's been so lovely to see our community grow, and I'm really humbled by the fact that there's now a community all around the world that are making our Winging It panels and joining in with the project. I've been blown away by how much things have grown and by how supportive you've all been. I genuinely feel like I've made some really great friends this year over the internet, and it's been a privilege to be a part of that with you. A lot of you have been asking about what we're going to be doing next year, and I do have a plan. It's going to be very different to what we've done this year, and I really hope that you'll all join in with me as we go through 2023. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more next week in our live stream, where I'll also be doing a flip through of my Winging It book, which will be complete by then, and talking about my highs and lows and maybe picking out some of my favourite panels through the whole project. It'd be great to see you there. So if you've not joined in with a live stream before, this is a great one to start with, because we're going to be gearing up for our 2023 project. Thank you all once again, and I just want to finish by wishing you all a very, very Merry Christmas and a peaceful and happy 2023. I'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.